Hello everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back, and if you're new, thanks for checking out my channel. As you can see, I am not filming in my usual spot. I spent yesterday driving home, which means to my hometown. So I am at my auntie's, and although my reason for coming home is not a happy one, I am always happy to be home. My aunt had supper waiting for me last night, and it also means that you get a different scenery than my very messy soon-to-be library, so that's nice too. Today I wanted to do my first book haul revisit. I don't know about you, but I have so many books that I still want to read, and if you've watched my channel before, I have been known to say that I want to read all the books. So in October of last year, I started doing monthly book hauls. And now when it comes to book hauls, I don't know if you are like me, but I get awesome books and then sometimes get distracted by other awesome books. And somehow the first awesome books, get lost in the shuffle. And while I was packing for our move, and now that I have started unpacking a bit, I'm seeing all of these amazing books that I've had for some of them a very long time that I still want to read. So I thought it might be fun to have a look back and see my book hauls and see what I've read and what books I still have to get to. And I'm hoping that revisiting these hauls will help to keep me accountable. And hopefully, some of the books that have been put on the back burner, they've been put aside for whatever reason, won't be forgotten for too long. So I didn't get a chance to film this last month, but I'm going to start with October 2020's book haul and try to do this every month to see if I've read the books that I've hauled within the year that I hauled them. So looking back to October 2020, I hauled 13 books. And it seems it was a good haul month. I have read 6 of the books, and 2 of them are set for me to read this month, which leaves only 5 that I still need to get to. And I read some great books from this list. I'm not going to discuss these in great detail because I would have done that in a wrap-up. But I will go over them briefly, and I will leave links to videos that I already talked about those books, so you can always check that out. And then I will talk a little bit about the books that I haven't read yet. One of my favorite books from this haul that I've read is The Dutch House by Anne Patchett. I absolutely loved and still feel like I should have included this novel in my top 20 of 2020. I absolutely loved this book. This is a story about a family, and it's told by Danny, who I also really loved. I loved how the book was written. I loved the relationship between Danny and his sister Maeve. And I loved that the house they grew up in, the Dutch house, became a character. You all know I'm a sucker for a place or a setting becoming a character in the novels. And I remember loving how this story had so many layers to it, and it kind of comes full circle. One of the books I read from this haul that did make it into my top 20 of 2020, and it came in at number 4, actually, and that was Pull of the Stars by Irish-Canadian author Emma Donoghue. I love Emma Donoghue. And this was such a beautiful story that takes place in Dublin during the Spanish flu. I loved that it takes place over just a couple of days, and I loved that all of the characters had purpose for the story. Emma Donoghue also has a new book coming out in, I think it's August of 2022, so I'm really looking forward to that book. One of the books I was anticipating most last year was from another Canadian author, and that was Rabbit-Foot Bill by Helen Humphreys. And this novel is based on a true story, and I loved the concept of it. The character of Rabbit-Foot Bill is very intriguing. His friendship with a young boy named Leonard is really special. And when Leonard witnesses a murder, everything changes, and the two connect many years later. So this was a good read, but I think that it could have been even better. It could have had more impact. It's worth a read, but it just didn't live up to the expectations that I had of it. The next book from the haul that I read is This Tenderland by William Kent Krueger. This book made it onto my top 10 list of reads from January to April of 2021. So it still has potential to make it into my top 10 of 2021. I call this a contemporary Huckleberry Finn story. Odie and his brother Albert, along with two other friends, escape from a residential school, and the story follows, their adventures and the many people that they meet along the way. I just found this to be a very compelling story. Wash's Praise by Noor Naga was the first book that I've read that was written in verse. It's a very short read with two female characters that are very different than each other. And this was kind of a jumping off point for me to try other books that are written in this way. The book from this haul that I read most recently is Please Look After Mom by Shin-Kyung Sook. And I will be talking about this one more when I do my November wrap-up. But for now, I will say that I am so glad I read this book. It's translated from the Korean, and it takes place in Seoul, where a woman goes missing in a subway station. And while the family is trying to find her, we learn about their relationships with her. So stay tuned for more when I do my November wrap-up, and I will share what I thought about that book. The two books that I have planned to read before the end of the year are The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is the second last book in the Monday with Margaret series. And of course, it's the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. So I will definitely be getting to this in December. And the other book is Crosshairs by Catherine Hernandez. Now, here's the thing about Catherine Hernandez. I own both of her novels. I've met her and had some great conversations with her. She's incredibly talented in so many ways, and yet I still haven't read her books. So I am hoping to change that, because if you ask me, who are some Canadian authors that, you think I should read, I would put her on the list. So Crosshairs is her second novel. So in some ways I feel like I should read Scarborough first, her first novel, but really I do hope to get to both of them. And Crosshairs right now seems to be calling my name. This is a dystopian sci-fi novel that is told mostly from the perspective of a queer character. And it also brings in themes of disability and race, resistance, environmental devastation. And with all of that, plus a lot more, it's really a story of hope. So that leaves 5 books from my October 2020 haul that I kind of lost track of. And yet saying that, I have seen all of these among the riffraff when I've been opening boxes. So they are not that far beyond my radar, and I do still want to read all of them because I want to read all the books. So the first one is The New Daughters of Africa, edited by Margaret Busby. This book is a brick. It's huge, but I'm still really interested in it because, first of all, let's just take a minute to admire this cover. It's beautiful. And it's an anthology of over 200 women from African descent. And not only do I think their voices should be heard, but I am interested in, reading some of the authors that I already know and love, and then getting to know some new authors as well. Next is a book that I first heard about on Instagram. There were a couple of people who really raved about it, and that is Creatures by Crissy Van Meter. I'm still interested in this book because the main character, Evie, just sounds like a character that I will enjoy reading about. And I like that the book is about our connection to the land and environment. So I'm glad that this one is, back on my radar, plus another beautiful cover. Next is a nonfiction book, which if I had time or if I had done this a little sooner, this may have ended up on my nonfiction list for Nonfiction November. It's called An Edible History of Humanity by Tom Standage. And this is about how food has played a role in many ways around the world. Up next is a thriller, The Boy from the Woods by Harlan Coben. I still really want to read this. Harlan Coben is a new to me author from 2020 or 2019, and I've enjoyed everything I've read by him so far. This thriller has an intriguing premise. It's about a man known as Wild, who was found as a boy living in the woods, and he had no memory of his past. And many years later, when a girl goes missing, Wild is asked to help find her, since he might be the only one who has the skills to save her. And then last but not least is No One Is Coming to Save Us by Stephanie Powell Watts. This also still interests me because it is a retelling, and I've been more interested in those, especially since reading many of Margaret Atwood's retellings and reimaginings. This is a contemporary Great Gatsby story. In this case, it's about an African-American family, and the visions they have of the American dream are challenged. So that was my first book haul revisited. Not too bad. My fear is that I won't have read any of the books when I look at the list. So this is, that would be a good sign, but I'm happy that this was a pretty good start, and there are still a few books to look forward to. So thanks for taking a look back with me and taking the time to look over that list. Let me know if you have read any of these books. What are your thoughts about them? Are there any of the books that I still need to read that you think I should start first? I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.